We love speaking about the truth and the reality of the cost of solar, because let's face it, Eskom is no longer reliable. We've had load shedding aplenty
for years.
and I mean, at one stage went all the way to stage 6.
Yeah.
So that's why we are so glad to have Mervyn from Solaris Energy South Africa in the studio. Good morning, Mervyn.
Good morning, Jonathan, and good morning, Rachel, and good morning, listeners.
Thank you so much. And we've gotten to know Mervyn because of some work that he's done here in CCFM's building, thanks to a very generous anonymous donor who has helped us to set up so that when load shedding happens, we don't feel it. And it's a massive blessing. But the question that I always have in my mind, and that I know many people have, is how much does it really cost? And I suppose the answer could be, well, it depends, right?
That's right, Jonathan. It really depends on the needs of the customer. And the equipment that you put in is quite expensive. You can go the cheaper route. And I've just been to a pensioner's place yesterday where she put in a system 6 months ago and spent about 30,000 on the system, just to have one light and a TV and Wi-Fi running. And the batteries are no longer operating the way they should. And now she has to upgrade to a real system that will work for her. So it's best to get a reliable and competent service provider, get the best advice, do some research yourself, and then go with what you think is the best for your requirements. It can be expensive, but scale down and meet your needs for what you want to have operating during load shedding as essential items only.
Sure, that's great advice. And you said it can be expensive.
Yes.
Again, because of the reality of if you go for batteries that are going to last you, that's going to cost more because it's all about the cycles. Now, talk to us just about the nuts and bolts of a battery, because I've learned from friends and conversations and so forth that, you know, a battery has only so many cycles. What does that exactly mean?
That's correct. You get two different type of batteries. You get the lithium ion type and you get the lead acid type. I would move away from lead acid. It's high maintenance. It's quite dangerous, difficult to dispose of, not environmental friendly. Lithium ion, much safer. You can put it in your home, a lower burn rate, and you also have a deeper depth of discharge in a lithium ion battery. In a lead acid, you can only discharge it to 50% to keep the life that they've guaranteed. Whereas in a lithium ion battery, you can take it down to 90%. Cycling simply means when you charge a battery and then discharge it in a 24-hour cycle, that is one cycle.
Okay.
And so 6,000 cycles, you can calculate. If you do it 365 times a year, you can get a life of 8 to 10 years out of a good battery.
And that would be the lithium ion one.
I would recommend lithium ion. Slightly more expensive than lead acid, but there are applications where lead acid can be used, and there are applications where lithium ion, but most householders are going for lithium ion at the moment, and even some businesses as well.
Yeah. Okay, so then let's talk about a home environment, because I'm sure there are people that are saying, okay, we know Eskom are applying for higher tariff rates. We know that Eskom, that electricity is something we need. And then, of course, load shedding does upset and interfere with our lives. But when it comes to a home, let's say a typical home of 4 people or 5 people, and they just want to kind of keep the lights on and do the basics. What are the basic costs that they're looking at, and what do they need to bear in mind so that they're being realistic?
Yeah, I would recommend that for a house and family the size that you've just mentioned, we would say, first of all, change all your lights to LEDs from incandescent, because then you lower the energy usage, then your system spec can be lower as well and smaller. Once you've done that, then you can tell yourself, okay, what's important to me? I'd like to have a few plugs in the lounge to have my Wi-Fi and TV running. I'd like all the lights to run. I'd like my security system to run. I'd like the garage door remotes to work so I can get out during load shedding, because the battery might not work on the garage door. Very important if you have an emergency.
True story.
And I would say a system like that, you can go with a 5 kilowatt inverter and a 5 kilowatt hour battery. You can go lower, but that's basically what I would recommend. And that will take you through to load shedding stage 6, a 4.5 hour
No electricity.
no
time.
electricity blackout.
Okay.
And it's very reliable. In Cape Town, the city of Cape Town has fairly strict rules if you have what they call a hybrid system, which is connected to your DB board and to the grid. You'll have to apply to the city of Cape Town for permission on an SSEG application, a small scale embedded generation application. An engineer has to sign that form, the owner has to sign the form, and then they'll make you sign a little contract at the end. No big formalities, but it's important in terms of a compliance that you do that and that you get what we call a COC, or a certificate of compliance, from the electrician that has installed your system.
Brilliant.
And then you know your warranties are intact for your equipment, and you've got a system that's compliant with the City of Cape Town's regulations.
And also important.
And the cost of that sort of system, for a 5 kilowatt battery and a 5 kilowatt inverter would be in the region of about 75,000 Rand. So that's quite expensive.
It is.
But it gives you the convenience.
That's it. And how long would that battery and that system then last?
The inverter, if it's maintained and looked after well and installed correctly, has a life of more than 15 years, possibly even 20 years. The battery would have to be replaced every 10 years.
Okay. So 10 years on the battery, 15 years approximately on the inverter.
That would give you convenience of going through load shedding with your essential circuits on. It wouldn't save you in electricity cost. If you want to go to the next step in terms of saving electricity costs, you have to put solar panels on your roof, and then you connect it to the system, and it's the irradiation from the sun that generates electricity through the solar panels that charges your battery during daylight, and then you can run down the battery at night. And that's the way you save electricity. And that saving, you then pay off your system capital cost, and you then pay off that system capital cost within a period of 5 to 7 years. And you have a life of 10 to 20 years.
Yes.
So it's almost a no-brainer to go that way.
Yes. So true. So definitely make sure that you get the solar panels, because that's where the saving is. The inconvenience of the load shedding can be overcome just by an inverter and a battery, but you're not going to be saving. You're not going to.
Correct.
So that is so brilliant. Mervyn, if people want to connect with Solaris Energy SA, how do they connect with you? Because at the end of the day, it's a great idea to get somebody who knows and understands not just the solar panels, the batteries, the inverters, but also the City of Cape Town side of things, so that we are compliant.
Thank you. You can find me on www.solarisenergysa.co.za, and you can go through my website, and the last page has a contact form, and if you fill that in, we'll get back to you as soon as possible.
I can imagine you guys are rather busy at the moment, right?
We certainly are, and we thank the Lord for the many blessings He gives us. But yes, we are busy and helping people out of an inconvenient situation.
Exactly. There's so much more that we can talk about, but we don't have time. But we do appreciate you coming through to the studios and helping us just understand a little bit better. Mervyn, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you, Jonathan, and thank you, Rachel. Have a good day.
You too.
You.